Hey guys, and welcome into the newest episode of the NFL 2020 draft grades for each team, each division. Today we're going to be doing the AFC West. Now, this was supposed to come out a lot earlier today, but unfortunately I just got caught up in some things. It's going to be a late upload. I did promise a double upload, so I am going to deliver on that. But yes, we are going to start off with the AFC West. And ironically, if you are a frequent viewer of this channel and the series, you probably have noticed all the draft grade videos I've done have been 28 minutes in some facet. So we're going to try and cut down that time because that is a lot of time. I know a lot of people don't really have that time to spend around and do it. Most of them just skip to their team anyway. So I'm pretty much going to switch it up for this one. Let me know how you think about it. I'm going to talk about every player, but I'm not going to give a single grade for every single pick. I'm going to just talk about each pick, see how it is, and then give a total grade for the team. Should knock down the time, hopefully by about 10 minutes. Get people in and out as quick as possible, as well as get the content out the right way. So we're going to start off with the Denver Broncos here and go from there. So with the first pick, they took Jerry Jeudy at pick 15. I mean, this is a knock it out of the park pick. And then they came back in the second round with KJ Hamler. I loved the way they went back-to-back on receiver there. Because behind Courtland Sutton, it was a lot of question marks. You don't know what you're getting out of Deshaun Hamilton. Other than that, you really don't know what you're going to get out of pretty much any other receivers, So when it comes down to it and you look at what the Broncos have, now they have Courtland Sutton, who is a perennial number one receiver in the NFL league. And I think he proved that last year. NFL league, I just said, I realized that. But now you get Jerry Jeudy, who's also going to be a perennial number one receiver at the NFL level. And then KJ Hamler, who's a speedy, quick guy that you could throw in just make big plays. I was going to say throw in the slot, but I think Jerry Jeudy's probably going to do a lot of the slot work because of how great his route running is, even though he can play outside as well. But overall, you're adding a lot of weapons to this young offense. You get Drew Lock there. Noah Fant's going to be coming into his second year when he looked a lot better at the end of his first year than he did at the beginning. You added Melvin Gordon along with Phillip Lindsay. Broncos are my wild card team. That I always pick a team that's going to sneak in. The Broncos are my guys for next year, who I think are going to sneak in. They made a lot of great moves over free agency, and these two picks at the beginning are great. Then we go over to the third round, where they took Michael Ojemudia, I believe is how you pronounce it, Ojemudia, out of Iowa. I had him as a day 3 guy, not really a day 2 guy, so I don't know if I really like how big of a reach it was for him, but they need corner depth, and they wanted him probably for his size and his length, but I think it's a solid pick, not the best. They did reach on a couple guys in this draft, so it is a little bit of a weird balance, but we'll get through it. Lloyd Cushenberry III out of LSU in the third round. I love this pick. He's one of my top centers in this draft class, probably right behind Biadasz. I think Biadasz beats him out a little bit. Obviously, Biadasz went a lot later than he did, but Cushenberry is a very solid center, and I think you can move him around if you need him to. So overall, this is another great pick. Bolster up that offensive line that's already solid and young. You add another guy there that's just going to help out. McTelvin Agim out of Arkansas. I did not have him this early at all. He was late day 3. I think this was a huge reach. Maybe they saw something that all of us didn't, but I thought this was a very big reach in my opinion. I think he was more of a mid-tier day 3 guy, but they reached on him all the way up in the third round, and we'll see how that turns out to be. I'm just going to say, out of Missouri, I really like his potential. Huge, 6'6", 258 right there. He is a beast of a human being, and to put him at the tight end position with Noah Fant, I think is going to be very fun to see. This is a guy who can progress into a very good tight end because of that size and speed and strength combination he has. It's just going to take time. So to have 2 young tight ends that are going to blossom off each other, you're going to be able to run 2 tight end sets, 2 running back sets, 3 wide receiver sets. You have so many versatile options here, and I love the fact that they can do all of that. So great option there in the 4th round. I love that pick. Justin Strnad, again, a little bit of a reach for me. I think he was maybe mid-tier day 3 guy, but this is, I guess it is kind of mid-tier. I meant like later in the 6th is more or less I saw him, but a little bit of reach. But overall, I think he's decent. He's going to take time, but good special teamer. We look at Tyree Cleveland and Tane Moody here as well. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't even know who this guy is. They got him at the end of the draft, so I'm not going to even. North Dakota State, we know what they can do, so I'm not going to say anything like I've seen anything on him. I've seen nothing on him. Can't even say anything. But Tane Moody, a guy who fell a lot because of injury concerns, but he is an absolute beast. That's really what it is. He's a mauler. He has an amazing combine, and that's really what it is. 44 reps at the combine, which is 4th in combine history as a breeding right there. I knew he was the top guy for this year, but if he's able to beat those injuries out, you just added 2 very solid young linemen in Cushenberry and Moody for the long term. And then Tyree Cleveland, I really like him as a late round guy because coming out of high school, he was a top rated receiver coming out of high school. He got into some trouble early. He never really ended up getting any of the play time that he was going to get coming out of high school, and it just never really ended up panning out. But I feel like he still has that upside. I mean, you never know what you can tap into a guy. So getting him in the 7th round, maybe he can end up being a return man because he has been doing that for a while. Maybe he can just end up being a special teams guy. Maybe he doesn't even make the roster. It's okay. It's the 38th pick in the 7th round. And like I said, I don't know much about Derek Tuska, but, I mean, cool-ass name. He had a real nice head of hair right there. So I'll be rooting for him. I'll tell you that. Overall, looking at the draft, I think I'm going to give this one an A-. Just because I think there's a lot of question marks with a lot of players. Ojemudia was a little bit of a weird one. Agim was a little bit of a weird one. Shanad, a little bit of a weird one. Moody, it's a great value, but once again, it's a question mark with the injuries, but I think it's great value. Cleveland, a lot of these guys are question marks, but overall, I mean, A- is not a bad grade at all. I love what the Broncos did here. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Cushenberry, I mean, even Albert O. I really like what they were able to do with a lot of their picks, so I think that was a very solid draft class for them. Now we go on over to the next one here, and that is actually going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, look at that. They're kind of almost in a row right there. Just the Rams are in the middle. But starting off with Clyde Edwards-helaire. Now, I did not like this pick at all, and I still don't like this pick. There was no reason in hell that Clyde Edwards-helaire was a top 3 running back taken off the board, let alone the first. Over, I would have taken Cam Akers over him, Dobbins over him, Taylor over him, and Swift over him. And for him to go here was very insane to me, especially when every one of them were still on the board. So for him to go there, I thought was very weird. I don't like it. He kind of reminds me of a C.J. Anderson type, who C.J. had some great years in Denver. I know that. I think he was a very good running back, but I don't see the upside for him to be this insane running back. Every time everyone's like, oh, you need to watch the tape, you need to do this. I do, and what I see is he gets caught on a lot of where other running backs would break out and have a 80-yard touchdown run. He gets caught up a lot. He's not really the fastest. He's not even the strongest. He's 5'9", he's not even 5'9", he's 5'7", I think, right? 5'7". I mean, it's, I hope that they did the right thing here, but when you had a chance to add a guy like DeAndre Swift or Jonathan Taylor, or even just went corner, Jalen Johnson or somebody, corner was a huge need, and you end up going with this guy here, Clyde Edwards-helaire, who I think is a great running back for, day 2, mid-day 2 value. I just think it could have been a lot better. If you can't tell me that DeAndre Swift in the backfield with Mahomes wouldn't create problems, because now teams have to take away maybe 1 or 2 guys that they were dropping into coverage because they have to be able to protect the run as well. Just didn't really like the pick here for Clyde Edwards-helaire, personally. In the late second round, they got Willie Gay Jr. I like this pick a lot. I think he's going to be a very good linebacker. I think he might be playing more of a little bit of an outside linebacker, but in the 3-4 scheme, I think that he could probably run a little bit interior. He's got very good strength. He's got speed. He's able to do a lot. I like this pick. I definitely do like Gay as a prospect, and I think that this is, it's going to fit. Anything you can add to a Super Bowl champion team is going to help, most likely. Then you go over to the late 3rd round, where they got Lucas Niang in the end of the 3rd round, and I think this is a great value pick. This is a guy who arguably could have went in the early day 2s. He ends up falling to the late day 2, and it's going to help you out. You get more depth. That's all you can ever ask for in these. After round 2, you're just looking for depth, and you're getting that depth out of Lucas Niang here. Then you go on over to the 4th round, where they took L'Jarius Sneed out of Louisiana Tech. I had a 7th round grade on Sneed, sneaky 6th round kind of thing. So for them to go here is kind of a big reach for me. So I didn't really like that pick that much, but overall, I understand once again they need secondary depth. I thought they should have went corner already, but they still haven't addressed that need. I guess Sneed is kind of a guy who can be able to do a lot more, but I don't know. He's kind of in a weird spot where you don't really know where to play him at this point in time. I guess they'll figure that out. In the 5th round, they went Mike Dana out of Michigan. Another guy where he's good in college, but again, I just didn't have him going in the 5th round. I think that was a little bit of a reach for them. And I'll give you a hint when it comes to Thacarius Keys in the 7th round. I'm just kidding. I did have Thacarius Keys going around here. I think this is a solid thing, but for him to be the only corner they're walking away with, I just did not like this. And overall, I really didn't like this draft class for the Super Bowl champions. It shows there they didn't really get any defensive tackle depth or offensive guard depth, although they did get Lucas Niang. They could have got more depth on the offensive line. They could have addressed corner a lot earlier, got a better running back than Edwards-helaire. I understand why they're saying that he's going to be a better fit. I just don't see it personally compared to all the other running backs. I think you could have got something better. I think anything that you think Edwards-helaire can do, I bet you there's one of the other 4 running backs I named that can do it better. So overall, for this draft class, I'm really looking over it. I'm gonna give it a C, like a straight up C, not a C plus, not a C minus, but a C. There's some bright sides. I think Niang was a good pick for where he was, but over that, Sneed, Dana, were reaches. Edwards-helaire was a huge reach. Willie Gay Jr. not really a reach, but it's a solid pick. But overall, when you have only 6 picks in the draft, you got to hit on at least 3 or 4 and let's be solid picks. And I don't think they did that here. So for that, I'm giving Kansas City a C. But they're Super Bowl champions. I mean, who cares if they got a C grade? They're Super Bowl freaking champions. Going on to the Los Angeles Chargers, solid class. I saw them make a lot of good picks. Just going over it here, Justin Herbert. I was reading Alohi Gilman's name while I was reading it. Justin Herbert out of Oregon at pick 6. It's a solid pick. If they wanted to go quarterback here, who am I to judge? I think that they should have went offensive tackle, in my personal opinion, and then maybe traded back in to get a quarterback like a Love or a Herbert. I just didn't think they needed to go quarterback that early, but with how the tackles were kind of going, maybe it was the better play to just kind of sit out of the tackle market because they kind of were falling a little bit. A lot of people thought they were all going to go top 10, ended up being only Andrew Thomas and Jedrick Wills going top 10, so that was kind of weird. But Herbert, I mean, he's going to be a franchise guy. I think that Tyrod Taylor deserves his shot, and I think that Herbert's not going to be able to take that starting job from Tyrod until then. I thought this was a team that would have blossomed with a Jameis Winston or Cam Newton at their helm. Compared to a rookie, I think that their team is just that ready to go. Because Keenan Allen is getting up there in the age department. Obviously, he's not old at all, but these are a lot of guys who are getting older and older. To where you're gonna have to kind of refresh your team a little bit within the few coming years. So he doesn't really fit the timeline they're at. I think that Tyrod fitted a lot better. Even Cam would fit a lot better, or Winston. But overall, this is where they decided to go. I can't complain. I think that he was a very solid quarterback at Oregon. He needs to be more consistent, kind of get everything going. But overall, I mean, if they thought this was a franchise guy, who am I to say that it's not? I think it's a great pick. The only pick that I think they should have went other than that is offensive tackle, probably left tackle because they got rid of Okung. But overall, it was a good pick. Then they traded back into the first round for Kenneth Murray. Now, this was a head scratcher for me. He's got sideline to sideline speed. I love Murray as a prospect. I think he was right behind Patrick Queen as the best interior linebacker in the draft. But when you look at Kenneth Murray, I mean, how is he really going to fix this Chargers defense? Well, he's not, because the Chargers defense doesn't really need to be fixed. I really don't see any holes in that Chargers defense that needs to be addressed. I think they have the best defense in the AFC, if not the whole NFL. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of great teams with great defenses. So when you look at what they have, their defense is such a strong suit. I thought they would go receiver here. If they traded back in, maybe went after a Mims or Ayuk, I think was still on the board. There's different things they could have went, and I just think that going somewhere on the offensive side is where they needed the most help. Even getting an offensive tackle, Ezra Cleveland was still on the board as well. Just different things. I like the player. I think he's going to help out a lot, but that defense is so stacked, I just don't see a reason they went there. But like I said, not a bad pick. It's just a weird pick compared to what your needs were. That's kind of what the Chargers draft has been. Josh Kelly in the 4th round, really like this pick. He's going to complement Austin Eckler a lot. They need to get another running back body in there, obviously, because Melvin Gordon is gone. So I like what they did with Josh Kelly. Joe Reed out of Virginia, I like him as well. This is about where I saw him too in round 5. A little bit later actually than I thought. I thought he would go kind of late round 4. So slipping in the 5th round, I think he was very good. He's going to be able to do a lot as probably that third receiver option right away. Because right behind Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, I really don't see much competition there at that level. And then you go over to the 6th round, Alohi Gilman out of Notre Dame. I really like him as a prospect as well. I think after a few years, he will be able to be a starter, no doubt. But with how the Chargers use their safeties, I mean, you never know where this guy can play because they use their safeties in the box. They use them on the nickels. They use them in so many different formations and ways that I think he's going to fit in well there. Anytime they can get another safety is good. And then in the 7th round, KJ Hill slipped all the way there. People had him as a 3rd and 4th rounder. I had him, I think, going in the 4th or 5th round, which people thought was crazy. They said there's no way KJ Hill was still there. Well, he fell all the way to the 7th round, and they make him there, 7th selection. So I think that's a very solid pick for them. For them to get Joe Reed and KJ Hill to add that receiving core, I think those are very solid receivers to add behind Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, especially when you have a young quarterback like Herbert. These guys will be able to grow, and then I think when Herbert is ready to be reaching his peak to where he's going to be just performing at the best of his ability, I think these guys will also be reaching that starting point where they're going to be able to be starting receivers and be quality receivers, whether that be 3 and 4 on the depth chart or whatever it ends up being. I think these guys are very solid. So overall, when you look at this draft class, like I said, I like all of the players here. There's just, they didn't address the offensive tackle position although you did get Trey Turner back for Okung, which was a steal. It was highway robbery. To not walk away with any left tackle is a big whoops for me. They could have added corner depth. It's not the biggest need, but they could have done it. But overall, I mean, you look, they had a solid draft class. I think I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give it an A minus. A minus for the draft class, just because the offensive tackle thing is a big thing for me, especially when you have a rookie quarterback coming in. We saw with Daniel Jones how it hurts a lot if an offensive line is not shored up when you get a rookie in there, and I don't see Herbert having too much of a different scenario. I think he's going to be struggling with holding onto the ball or handling pressure in his first year, which I mean I guess is going to happen. You'll probably have Tyrod start for a little while until you believe Herbert's ready to take the reins. But overall, these are all great players. They're all just I mean in the right line. But offensive tackle was a big need for me. Not having a pick until round 4 pretty much after Herbert because for the offense is what I mean because obviously Murray's is a pick, but he's gonna help that defense, and I think the defense is already insane. So not having another offensive pick until round 4 was a big thing, but they did pick some solid players: KJ Hill, Gilman, Reed, etc. So A minus, not a bad draft class at all. I think they should have came away with an offensive tackle. That's pretty much it. And then the last team for this, as we're nearing 16 minutes, I'm gonna try and fly through this as possible. Loved their first round, and a lot of people didn't. I did. Henry Ruggs III out of Alabama. I mean, this guy had one drop in his year. People always talk about his speed. People always talk about that. Well, when you look at him, he's 5'11", which people like Antonio Brown 5'10", Odell Beckham's 5'11". This is the guy's same height as them, and they're perennial. I mean, Hall of Famers pretty much is what their careers were looking like. I mean, we'll see what Odell can keep doing throughout his career, but I mean, when you look at what Henry Ruggs can do, one drop in his last season at Alabama, absolute speed. I mean, 4.2 speed. He was mad with his 4.27. I mean, this is a guy who I'd want on my team, and to add him to a offense who's already so insanely good, I mean, I really like that. So anytime people had different receivers here, I like CeeDee Lamb going here, but I understand why. It was either CeeDee Lamb or Henry Ruggs. I didn't see Judy going here. So for Henry Ruggs to go here, I wasn't surprised. I still think CeeDee Lamb is the best receiver in this class, but to get Henry Ruggs, I think that's a very solid pick. He's going to do well, especially next to Tyrell Williams and Darren Waller as well. Then you go Damon Arnett at pick 19. Now, is this a reach? Yes, it was a reach. Do I think that Arnett is going to be a top 32 player when it comes out of this draft class? Yes, I actually do. I was saying in a lot of my videos, especially if you go watch my 2-round mock drafts, Damon Arnett I had as an early to mid second round grade, but I think that he was going to be that guy who, in a couple of years, we look back and say, man, how did he fall to the second round? Just because I think that he got overshadowed because obviously people don't like Ohio State corners simply because they always have a great defensive line and they think that's why they are so good. And also when he had Jeff Okudah, who was the number 3 pick in the draft, on the other side of him, he was a little bit overshadowed. That doesn't mean that he was any worse. It just means he was overshadowed by those two things I just said. So when you look at it, they add another corner. I like Damon Arnett a lot as a corner. Like I said, I think it was a reach. I think that he was going to go early second round, but I think that overall it is going to be around this range when it is all said and done, in my opinion. So I like the player and I like the pick. Yes, it's a little bit early, but overall that was a solid pick in my opinion. I think that Mike Mayock and John Gruden know how to do their scouting, and I like that pick there. Then a very weird, there's no other way to cut it. Very, very, very weird situation here. They went back-to-back receivers in the third round, and I thought that was so weird because defense is really where this team struggles. I think offense, they are sound. Great offensive line. They have a solid run game there with Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr is able to move the ball around, get out of the pocket. Darren Waller is an absolute beast. They added Jason Witten to help block. And then you look, Tyrell Williams was a touchdown machine when he was healthy. You add Henry Ruggs there with Renfro, who had a great rookie year. You signed Nelson Aguilar in free agency. I mean, offense seemed like a great setup, getting as many defensive players as possible to replace all the holes there, I thought was the key. But when they go ahead and take Lynn Bowden Jr., who is pretty much just a wild card, you can play running back, receiver, quarterback, whatever you need him to do on that offense. So I think they got him because he's a weapon, and I think that's going to be really cool. And I think that's a good spot for him, third round, mid-third round. I think that was very good. But to get the very next pick and also take another receiver was so weird to me. I like, once again, I like Bryan Edwards too. I think he's a very good receiver, 6'3", 212. I mean, he's a very good build. He's going to do very well, but it just makes me wonder, why'd you sign Aguilar if you were going to, Aguilar's contract seems weird now. Tyrell Williams, is he going to lose a lot of reps now? Because he was looking like, at the beginning of the season, he had 5 straight games with a touchdown. I loved him. He's one of my favorite fantasy receivers at the beginning of the year. Is he going to lose reps? How about Darren Waller, who is a beast of a tight end? One of the best tight ends we saw in football last year. Is he going to lose reps? Josh Jacobs. You're adding all these guys. Who's going to get the football? Is Hunter Renfrow going to lose a lot of reps? He was a guy who was showing a lot of promise last year. It just seems like a lot of crowded space there in the locker room on that offensive side. So I don't know where they're going to go with that. But then these last 3 picks, they absolutely nailed. I mean, all these picks are great players, but these are solid picks. Tanner Muse out of Clemson, I think this is a very underrated player. He was very solid at his time in Clemson, and when you look at what he's going to do for the Raiders, I think he's going to fill in pretty nice. I think he's going to kind of be that rotational guy, in my opinion. I don't know where exactly you're going to put him, but they do have Jonathan Abrams still there. I think that they got to keep Joyner at free safety. I don't think he can play corner. They got to keep him at safety. So having Muse kind of slip around. Abrams was a first rounder. We got to give him his props. He's got to be able to come back from that injury and bounce back. So I like the Muse pick. And then you get John Simpson, who is going to help out with whenever Richie Incognito retires. I mean, it looked like he was going to retire after this year, but he didn't. So I think Simpson is a very solid pick. I think it's about where he should have gone to. And then Amik Robinson, I thought he was a little bit, maybe a third-round grade, late third, maybe early fourth. But for him to fall all the way to the end of the fourth for them to get him, I think it's a very solid pick. I think he is going to turn out to be one of the better corners in this draft as well. So when you look at what they did in this draft class, they addressed the defense, but I think that they could have done a little bit more. Maybe take one of these receivers. I would have rather had Bryan Edwards over Bowden. You take Bryan Edwards, maybe take a different, I can't even think of one, maybe an edge rusher, outside linebacker, different things here in the mid-third round. Just take the best defensive player available. That would help out a lot. And then you look at everything else they did. I think they did a very good job. I'm going to give this draft I want to give it an A, but I don't know if I can do it. I'm gonna give it a B+, and it's very close to an A-. Like, it's probably 89. Just because you did take Ruggs over CeeDee Lamb, which I think is a solid pick because it's gonna fit you a lot. But I think CeeDee Lamb was the best receiver in this class. I'm not really knocking you down too much. I'm just explaining it. Damon Arnett, as much as I love him as a prospect, right now it was a reach. He was a mid-second round grade. So for him to go over a lot of the corners that did was kind of crazy. If you switched him and Trevon Diggs, it would have made sense. Trevon Diggs going in 19 makes sense. Damon Arnett going to the Cowboys in the second round would make sense. Lynn Bowden and Bryan Edwards back-to-back, like I said, didn't like this. You should have went somewhere else with this. Tanner Muse I liked in the third round. I think that was solid. We'll see where he can go. I think safety wasn't the biggest need. That shouldn't have been where they went here. And then you go to John Simpson. I think he's going to grow. I think it's a very solid pick. And Amik Robinson I like as well. Also, you didn't really get any depth after that, which kind of sucks because they did trade a lot of picks. But overall, solid draft class, as close to an A as possible. I do. It's probably 89 for me out of 100. So overall, I think it was a great draft class. And like I said, most of these teams in the NFL didn't have a bad draft because this draft class was so stacked. It's pretty hard to screw it up unless you're Seattle or Green Bay. So let me know what you think about these videos in the comment section below. If you do enjoy, please be sure to leave it a like and subscribe if you are new. If you're part of the 97% of viewers that don't subscribe, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button, join the team, and help us get through this long off season as we are prepared for whatever. Going to be doing a lot of different content. There's going to be another 2 teams coming out tomorrow, double upload tomorrow. We're going to be doing realistic rebuilds in Madden with some of the new teams and new situations as well. Be on the sure lookout for that. There should be another Giants episode coming out soon. I just have to send the time to edit it. I haven't had the time to sit down and edit the whole video down, so that's on me. But overall, like I said, if you did enjoy the video, please leave it a like. If you didn't, just refresh the page, check it out again, and let me know what you think about it the second time. Without further ado, that is going to be it for me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.